Welcome to Ask When Everyone. Today I have Isaac with me, and I'm going to let Mr. Isaac take it away and explain more about what he does.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me today. I'm excited to be here. And I wanted to jump on here and tell you a little bit about what I do, where I come from, what my background is. It's a little bit unique in comparison to what most people would say, in the sense that it's pretty diverse. I have three different areas that I've really focused in over the past few years. For one of them that I've been focusing on the longest, it's architecture. So I have built and designed buildings in 5 different states. The most recent one was just completed in Tennessee, and it was a single-family home overlooking a river in the Smoky Mountains. So architecture has always been something that's really important to me, something that I really enjoy and have a lot of fun doing. That was one of the first ones. The next one that came along was really the idea of business. So in the past, I'd say probably about 5 or 6 years, I've worked with customers in the United States, in Europe, in South America, in Asia, multiple different continents, multiple different countries, helping them see the different opportunities that they have with business, whether it's missed opportunities to innovate in their industry, opportunities to grow their business, or find new ways to be creative in what they're doing. We worked with a lot of people in that sense, and we've helped them increase the value proposition that they bring to the users, bring to their clients, and create new strategies overall. So we've worked with startup companies that are anywhere from first day, or not even first day, they have an idea and they want to run with it and see where it works. And we've worked all the way up to multi-billion-dollar pharmaceutical companies that are spread across the world as international corporations. And it's been really exciting just working with them, seeing the different challenges that they face, and then being able to come up with solutions for them, working with them as an outside perspective, but also helping create an internal culture that's geared around those different solutions that we come up with. So that's the second one, being business. And the third one is really this idea of education. So I currently run an education company where we focus very heavily on learning styles and how to integrate learning styles into the educational landscape that students focus on. So we just published a book called The Creator's Guide, and it's really a guidebook that teaches students 50 lessons to help develop creativity. It's all hands-on learning. It's all interactive, but it uses the principles of different learning styles to target kids' receptors in the way that they learn and the learning outcomes that they can have from each experience, and gives them a way to do it with not only their parents and their friends, but there's a social media component as well where they can upload it to an online platform and basically compete with people for these challenges around the world. So the book's really exciting, and we take the same ideas and philosophies that we put into the book and bring those into an education system. So we work with schools and educators to train them in how to use this learning style application in their classroom, in their learning environments. And even so, right now, with everything going on with the coronavirus, we've been able to work with a lot of homeschool parents as well to bring this idea of hands-on learning styles into the classroom setting, you could say, for homeschool parents. So it's been really unique. And those are, that's a brief rundown of what I've done for each of those three, but those are the three focuses I've had over the last few years, being architecture, business, and education. And that's what we continue to work on my end, and I do with my team to create the growth that we want and kind of run that business moving forward.
It's so funny you say that, Isaac, because I am an auditory learner. People know that by now. People know that by now. And you guys, I am stuck. Right before I hit record on this call, I just finished up with my math tutor, which for those of you who've been following me a long time, I'm a creative type. I hate math. And so me being stuck in math class, I'm like, get me out of here for today. Luckily the math class is only 5 weeks. But um it's so funny because when I say I'm an auditory learner, people look at me like, "You are what?" They
Right.
would think
Yeah.
they would think I would be more visual. They would think I would be more kinesthetic, and people like, "You are what? You are what with cerebral palsy?" And I'm like, "Yep. Give me audio and I can tell you what was in that math textbook in 2 seconds flat. Give me just
Hmm.
the simple textbook and say, "Lynn, read this." Um, I can't tell you.
Right. And that's the problem that so many people have when it comes to those learning styles. I think you are in a very unique position where you already know what type of learning style applies to you.
Oh,
And
yes, I
most
do.
people have no idea. Most people don't even know that they should know anything about learning styles. And then once they figure that out, they have to now almost go through like a setting or an assessment to figure out what their learning style is. So it's
Yeah,
really unique that you already know, and you hit the nail on the head. I mean, you listed three of the main four that we use: visual, auditory, and kinesthetic. Those are three of the main four that we use to work with people and say, hey, these are the different learning styles that we can use. And we've been able to tie that into both an education and a professional setting, and use it in a school-based setting or in a professional work environment, and had great success with both of them, helping people understand the way that the person on the receiving end of the information needs to receive it. So it allows them to think more in depth about how they need to create that material for those people.
so now I'm going to ask you this, and I'm going to put it politely. Why is it that the educational space does tactile instead of audio, or they 9 times out of 10 do visual and slow it at the audio learners, which drives me bananas. And so, because I'm audio learner, so it drives me bananas. But don't why doesn't the educational space, and I just left my teaching job due to COVID, um coronavirus. So I was in the educational space for 13 a total of 13 years, and I taught privately, I taught publicly. Now I'm teaching about CP, which is a
Mhm.
totally different subject in itself. But my point being is, why doesn't the education field, why do they focus on one modality, not the several modalities that these kids and adults are?
Absolutely. And that's actually my motivating reason for really getting started in the education industry. I've been doing it for about 5 or 6 years now, working with educators around the world, like I had mentioned, talking to them about exactly the point that you're bringing up. And in all the research that I've done, what I've found is the model that is used currently and how they are currently teaching students is based on a system that is using numbers from the 1990s, the early 1990s, the late 1980s. And at that time, the majority of the students were believed to be visual learners, some auditory learners, and some read write learners, with with the underwhelming majority of students being tactile or kinesthetic. What we're seeing now is that with the integration of technology and how students are using technology on a daily basis, the numbers have kind of flipped, and the large majority of students nowadays are these kinesthetic learners. They're hands-on learners, and they want to do it in a hands-on way. And unfortunately, the numbers that we see had to come from somewhere, right? So the percentage of students that are now kinesthetic learners had to pull from different categories. And unfortunately for you, the majority of people are not just auditory learners. So
No,
they've shifted the way that they teach, uh, away from somewhat away from visual, a lot of it away from auditory and somewhat from read and write, and put a heavy emphasis into kinesthetic learning nowadays. And teachers are trying to catch up, and school systems are trying to catch up so that they can address the fact that the majority of students are kinesthetic learners. But there's still so many missed applications of where to use it and when to use it and how to use it.
Yes. Like I could tell you if someone asked me who's listening, and the moment I put this out there, they'll probably ask me, what did you speak on with Isaac 2 weeks later? They would say 2 weeks later. I could tell you in 2 seconds flat what we spoke on. That's
Right.
because I am an auditory learner. And so give me an audiobook and give me a chance to read it. I can tell you. Give me a book on my iPhone, and I say book. Give me a book on my iPhone. I can sit down and read a book, and people know this, and they've told other people just give Win a chance to read a book. She can actually read a
Hmm.
I I got caught one day on the East Coast. I got caught one day on the East Coast. A person goes to me, apparently, I've been told you like reading, and I said I do. Just give me a chance to read the book on my iPhone, and then I'm perfectly fine. Other than that, I but oh, but it's like the kinesthetic learners go out the door in my language, but I'm not. I am half the. I'm a majority. I'm a few persons here who does audio very well, and so what are we going to do for the kinesthetic learners this year? Do you have any ideas, Isaac, as to what we can do for the kinesthetic learners who are starting virtually and who are not in the classroom? I know a lot of states are starting virtually, and I know a lot of classes are going back to, but being masked up, is there anything we can do to help the poor kinesthetic learners? I'm just throwing that out there as audio learner myself.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, one of the things that we've been trying to do on our end with my education company, it's called Grace Prentice Education, is we wrote this book, right? And this book was designed for all four main learning styles, because my big thing in education has always been that education is for everyone, right? It can be very inclusive. And the book that we put together is 50 lessons to help develop creativity, but through different learning styles. And what we really try to do is provide a fair share of auditory, of visual, of read write, and of kinesthetic, so that every student recognizes there are different ways to learn. I might have one that works best for me, but they also get experience and exposure in the other ones, because I think sometimes people mistake that they have one learning style and that's it, right? The breakdown is typically you have one that is your top 60%. So that's the strongest by far. The next one is about 30%, where you have a second one. In your case, it's probably visual or read write away from tactile. And that's about 30%. And then the last two are roughly, they make up the last 10% of the actual 100% that we're looking at. But the book that was designed by us, the Creator's Guide, was really to focus on all these different type of learning styles, how you can get exposure to all of them and experiment with all of them. I think that the biggest group that's going to suffer in an in-classroom setting now based on the coronavirus is most likely those hands-on tactile kinesthetic learners, because people are very conscious of what they're doing right now due to Corona, the spread of the
Yeah.
virus, all that sort of stuff. The hands-on learning applications that students would be getting, unfortunately, due to the scare that's come from the coronavirus, they're not really going to have the opportunity to touch a lot of things, right?
Yeah. They're not
So it
going to have the opportunity to touch a lot of things. So the poor teachers who have the kinesthetic learners, I am I also, you guys, I'm gonna be posting this on my main, and I have another podcast which Isaac knows about, the amazing voices of teachers, which Isaac and I are going to be doing another interview on that,
mhm.
and we're going to be talking about more of education space. But I will be posting Ask When on my main podcast feed and handing it to the teachers and trying to help you guys out. I mean, I'm sitting here like, ay, 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 what's next? I mean, I'm getting calls surprisingly left, right, and center saying, "When could you help me out here? Could you at least um, talk me off a ledge so I can put one foot in front of the other?" And then that's why I want to go into special ed coaching. But that's not the long story in itself. Why I want to be a journalist slash a special ed coach, because I believe these kids have all unique learning styles, but at the same time, we have to go towards the norm. And the norm is kinesthetic, and the kinesthetic learners are going to be up to the creek without a paddle. I'm sorry, you guys. And let's say you have a class of 30 kids, you can't go into each and every modality in a school day when you're trying to not only wrangle the kids, but make sure that the mask stays on the kids
Mhm.
they when they want to go, and make sure that there's social distancing. Let's not forget, we're dealing, the older kids understand it, but the second and third graders may not. And it's like, oh, oh boy. So
Yeah.
they want to touch the, I'm thinking kinesthetic, which is doing, um and tactile, they want to touch the sand, whereas the audio ones don't want to touch the sand. They're more concerned about hearing the teacher, and it's all gonna be a mess, you guys. It's all gonna be a mess.
Yeah.
Ay,
Absolutely. And I think it's one of those things where until we actually put the kids back in the classroom, we don't know for certain what the expectation or outcome will be. We
yeah,
can build a generalization of what we expect to happen. Like we expect uh, kids in grade school, K through 6, to trade their masks with their friends, right? Take off the one that they have and say, "Hey, mom, I
yeah,
traded the Spider-Man one for a Batman one," right?
yeah,
we can
yeah,
we can say
exactly.
we think that's going to happen, but until we put them in the classroom and see it firsthand, we don't know what to happen or what will happen because
No.
it's been over 100 years since we've seen a pandemic like this. There are very few, if any, people that remember it. So it's basically uncharted territory for everybody. So we really can prepare, but until it happens, we don't know for a fact what
And
we're going to see.
I read something this morning, you guys, that polio is coming back. Polio. And I'm like, ay, 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 polio. As the polio epidemic was similar to the coronavirus in the early 60s. And
Hmm.
so I read something this morning that polio is coming back. And I'm like, hey, oh boy, here we go again. Here we go
Yep.
again. So, Isaac, what is your favorite book?
I think my favorite book is actually one called Insanely Simple. And it's by Ken Segal, and it's a book about Apple, the tech company, and it's basically all of the ways there's this idea of complexity and how you can make things really complex, and then you can take a step back and say I need it to be simple, but oftentimes to make it simple and still have the complexity built into it is like a next level of thinking. So
Yeah.
that one really helped me align my thought process in terms of I want things to be really fully thought out, but also simplified for the end user. And at the same time, making sure that I am able to scale it in a way that's going to allow growth.
Yes.
So yeah, that was a great book, great read. I absolutely love it. It's one of the ones that I default to and I've read numerous times because it's chock full of good information. And right now, Apple is only about $50 million away from hitting their $2 trillion valuation. So it's, they must be doing something right. The most valuable company in the United States.
Yep, and they must be doing something right. And I am a big time Apple user. I have
As am I.
iPhone, a laptop, iPad, a Apple Watch. So I
Yep.
am a big time Apple user. So insanely simple. And you guys can go pick that up from the library, go pick that up from Audible, or yeah, go scoot after you listen to this podcast. Go pick up Insanely Simple because um, if Isaac, the Master of Education, is recommending a book about Apple, I'm in. I'm in. I love assistive technology, and Apple is one of those great companies that integrates their assistive technology in every which way. They try to at least. And
hmm
so and so what is your morning routine?
So mine is probably different than most people. Mine actually starts the night before, where when I'm done with doing everything for that day, I actually build my schedule for the next day out the night before. So it includes all of the meetings that I have, all of the phone calls. I host my own podcast 5 days a week. So I have to build that in. I build time in to promote it on social media and plan for the podcast. And I run a company at the same time. So I need to schedule all of the important things that I'm doing, which usually has me doing it the day before, so I don't have to think about it in the heat of the moment. So I'm usually up and at it by about 7 o'clock, and I'm located in New York right now and North Carolina. I'm back and forth. So East Coast time, but usually about 7 a.m. I'm up and at it, already working, looking at analytics from the day before, how people are interacting with our social media channels or our podcasts, and making executive decisions based on what they're doing on new directions that we need to take the company or different things that we need to try or strategies that we need to implement. And then as I go throughout the day, I'd like to have most of my meetings early in the day or later at night. So I have the middle part of the day to really focus. And that's my own personal preference. I know that Jeff Bezos, the CEO of Amazon, does it completely different, but that's what I found that works really well for me, doing meetings on the front end and the back end, and then having that middle time to just block out everything else and really focus on a large chunk of the work that needs to get done.
So yeah, I'm a morning person as well. People know that by now. Um, in my retirement, well, in my transition to journalism from teaching, and I may go back to teaching. As I said, I want to get my degree in special ed, but we'll see how that pans out. But in my retirement from education to journalism, I am typically a morning person. I function better in morning due to my physical disability. By the end of the day, I'm exhausted. By the end of the day, I'm exhausted. So, because I have to not only maintain a sense of composure, but maintain a sense of okay, you working with a disability here that could go bad in 2 seconds flat, and so
Hmm.
I tend to do better in the morning. I get exhausted easily by the end of the day.
Right. Yeah, and I think that that's part of the value of just planning and knowing what you're going to do because I build times in for break, right? I know that I do work very hard, but I build times in to take a break, whether it's grab lunch. If my schedule is so busy, I've even had times where I've had to schedule going to the bathroom just to make sure that I actually do get a chance to go. But I do make sure that I have time for a break, and I'm reminding myself to eat and all the necessary things to stay healthy. Because if I'm not healthy, I'm not able to do
Yeah.
this on a daily basis, right?
No,
So
if
taking
you're
care of
not
myself
healthy.
at the same time as planning is just so valuable with everything that we're doing here.
Yep. And so, Isaac, I know you had questions for me. Go ahead and ask. Now it's your turn.
Oh man, put me on the spot. Yeah, I think some of the biggest ones that I really wanted to know from you is who are your biggest inspirations and where do you really get the motivation to kind of keep moving forward with everything you've done over the past few years?
This will shock people. I haven't told people this one, but my biggest well, I've told people one person. I have
Hmm.
two. My biggest inspiration is Michelle Obama. People
Okay.
know that one because they know I want to have her on my podcast. They know I am a Democrat. They know I am on Obamacare. Yeah, but they know about Michelle Obama being my biggest inspiration. But the other one is going to shock you guys, and that is Christopher Reeves. And the reason
Okay.
why I say Christopher Reeves is because I myself have a spinal cord injury that I have two one actually, one rod in my back that
Hmm.
goes from because I had terrible scoliosis and so I have a rod in my back. Well, if Superman, literally, if Superman could have lived on a ventilator as long as he did and functioning as long as he did, I'm thinking, well, I don't live on a ventilator. I live with cerebral palsy. But looking at what the Dana and Christopher Reeves Foundation has done for spinal cord injuries, and looking at what Christopher Reeves did when he was alive and what he did for the television industry before he got injured is absolutely amazing. And my third one, my inspiration in journalism happens to be Oprah Winfrey because she came from nothing and built her empire up from nothing. And so the first one happens to be Michelle Obama, the second one happens to be Christopher Reeves, and the third one happens to be Oprah Winfrey.
Very nice. Great choices. Great options.
Yeah, great options there. It's going I knew that Christopher Reeves would shock you guys. You're like, "What? Christopher Reeves?" No, but what he's done for the spinal cord injury community and is absolutely amazing.
Well, that's great, and it's great to have the advocate there to help you with that as well.
Well, the advocate the advocate in me wants to be the voice for the voiceless, which is becoming. You thought I was going to say harder and harder. It's now becoming easier and easier because um, of as I transfer from education into journalism and potentially back into education with a special ed degree, um, it's going to be easier and easier because I'm noticing that special ed needs help. Special ed is changing dramatically. I mean, the whole education scene is changing. Isaac, you know this because of what's everything going on right now.
Hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And it's always changing, and it's going to be even easier, and it's going to continue to get easier as the use of social media grows and the opportunity that people have to expand the message out there with these different platforms. So that was a great answer for the first one. And then my last one, my second and my last one is what sort of advice do you give others on overcoming adversity? Obviously, you've had to deal with some of that before. So what do you tell other people that are looking for that?
Uh, well, I would tell other people don't fit in to the mold. Don't fit into the mold of what other people expect of you. I was told that I would never be able to walk, never be able to talk, never be able to eat, never be able to hold my head up, practically. And so, so don't fit into the mold of what other people tell you you can't do.
Hmm.
And certainly don't judge a book by its cover. Do not judge a book by its cover. I I have been judged by my own cover so many times that it's even not even funny, and I have diversity and culture in my background and the people I deal with on a daily basis. And once you get to know me, you will understand that I may be short. I'm only 5 feet, you guys, but I am mighty. I am mighty. I'm mighty. I'm mighty. And I had now this was a year ago. I had a friend. Um, we we were in the grocery store, and this friend will never forget this. We were in the grocery store, and people started staring at me. We, she was in front of me. I was behind her, and so people started staring at me. And she goes, "Really, really? People stare at a 32-year-old adult in a walker. People don't have the dignity to quit staring." And I'm like, no, they don't. No, they don't. And I will always get stared at for the rest of my life. I just stare right back. And it's actually sad that I have an excuse to stare now because um, of what's going on publicly. And
Right.
when people stare at me and don't have a mask on, I stare right back at them. I'm like, you stare at me, I stare right back at you, and it's like, ay, 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 the staring contest. So, so my point being is, don't judge a book by its cover. I mean,
Hmm.
we all come from different cultures, we all come from different backgrounds, we all come from different religious beliefs, but don't judge a book by its cover.
I love it. And I think that's so valuable too. I think so many people are quick to judge. So I think that's
Yeah.
a great way to answer that question and a great way to kind of tie everything together.
Yeah, well, Isaac, where can people find you and where can people get a hold of the book and where can people find you?
Yeah, so the Creator's Guide is actually available on Amazon right now as an ebook. And if you are interested, you can go check that out right now. It will be available for print within the next week or so. So you can also wait it out and get that print version when it comes out as well. Or you can email me directly at Isaac, ISAAC, at Grace Prentice, PRENTICE.com. Isaac at graceprentice.com. You can get a book right on there. Shoot me an email. I'd be more than happy to send you a copy of the book as well. And I'm also on Facebook, Instagram, or TikTok. So Facebook, you can find us right on there, Grace Prentice Education. Instagram, same, Grace Prentice Education. And then TikTok, Grace Prentice Education. So we are around. Feel free to follow us on any of those. Ask any questions that you have. Feel free to reach out. We are more than happy to talk to you guys about any of your questions and be here for you guys to help with the learning styles, the creativity, and any and all things education or business.
And Isaac, what is the podcast name that you host?
Yeah, so I hold one called the GP Educast. It's like education,
Podcast.
EDUCAST, GP Educast. And we do it 2 days on and 1 day off. So you actually caught me on the perfect day. Today's our day off. We've done it for the past 2 days.
Yeah. Well,
But
that's
ours,
good.
we have a podcast that we do that we pull from, and it's also a Facebook live stream. It's on YouTube. It's also on Twitch. So we have a live video component to the podcast as well. That's really cool, and it's just a different way to interact. So customers or the viewers can reach out to us directly while we're talking and ask questions, and we can answer them on the spot right there for them.
Yeah. GP Educast, you guys, and we'll be sticking Isaac's information in the show notes. But for those of you who are audio learners, please be my guest. And I think I taught you guys how to subscribe to a podcast, but I may have to do it again for all my new listeners out there because podcasting is one of the greatest things. And as the educational modalities change and as the education space changes, we need all the extra modalities that we can get for the kinesthetic learners slash the audio learners slash everyone else because this is how we're going to survive this 2020 slash 2021 school year, you guys. Well,
Absolutely.
it takes a village to raise these kids. And me as a retired educator, I'm standing as a member of your village. Trust me. And so, yes. And Isaac, what is your closing thought for this interview?
I think the biggest thing that I want people to take away from this is really the idea that we're never done learning. We always need to be continuing to find what we don't know and grow our knowledge basin. And at the same time, if you find a way where you're hitting a roadblock in terms of learning, change it up, right? It might be a different learning style that you learn best in and you never knew. So I would say take the time, make the investment into yourself to learn the different learning styles and try to learn using those as the basis of your information. And then for any questions or any way that I can help, contact me directly and we can work with you guys to get those learning styles integrated into your daily applications on a case-by-case basis. So that's my big thing. Focus on the learning styles, keep learning, and have a great time doing it.
Yep. Well, and I hope you guys enjoyed another fabulous episode of Ask Gwen with Isaac. It wasn't planned to talk about education. I just rolled with the punches. But I hope you guys learned a lot. And I hope this will help you virtual teach or teach in person. And as I said, you can reach out to Isaac. You can reach out to me. I'm available. I'm around. And so let's make this work, you guys. Stay safe, stay happy, stay healthy, and last, stay strong. And I hope you guys enjoy another fabulous episode. Thanks, you guys. Bye, you guys.